I'm opening this video with an abstract. Non-scholarly folks might know abstracts by their other name, spoiler warnings. You probably already know the answer I'm about to say. Fallout 76 isn't good, but it's not awful. But it's also not okay. This is going to be a short-ish one, as I'm only really playing the game for a bigger video coming out in October. I'm like halfway through the script in this video, and it's like 50 minutes long. So, buckle up. I'm already having war flashbacks. Let's not think about that. Let's think about this. Fallout 76 is a lot like New Vegas in terms of its development history, which is weird. Bethesda finished their major Fallout installment. They were getting back to work on the Elder Scrolls. They asked another team to make a spin-off to keep the money flowing, and unfortunately they didn't pick Obsidian this time, or any of the other fractured remnants of the DOS Fallout's dev teams. They picked Bethesda's Austin, Texas team. Formerly known as Battlecry, the team had 0 games under their belt. They spent a year and ultimately canned a self-named title, and they developed Doom 2016 multiplayer content after Certain Affinity was fired. But that's it. They were handed Fallout 4's assets, given 18 months, and had to figure out how the hell to make all of this work in multiplayer. To do this, Fallout 76 utilizes netcode lifted from some Quake game, and development was breakneck. I don't think I need to touch on this game's initial reaction, but if I do... Yeah, for a great long while, this was the most reviled Fallout game, even more so than the now retconned Brotherhood of Steel, not to be confused with Fallout Tactics Brotherhood of Steel. There are 2 games, they're both called Brotherhood of Steel. On top of Brotherhood of Steel being a really mediocre game that's more focused on combat than adventuring and roleplay, and featuring a large number of disparities versus the series' established lore, which begs the question why they retconned this one. It fits right in with all the other Fallout games they've made. Brotherhood of Steel also features out-of-place Slipknot, excessive advertiser-unfriendly language, and repetitive gameplay with no real highlights. It's a dull, frustrating slog of a game, and Bethesda pretends it never existed. This game was at one point considered worse. But it's been 2 years, and if I wait for the game to settle down so I can review it, then that's when servers will be shut down, so I don't know, might as well jump in. Let me know, I am not playing the Battle Royale mode. This game has a Battle Royale. I'm not playing it. So if you want a review of Nuclear Winter, it's not here. If you think Nuclear Winter might save my opinion of the game, it won't. You'll see. My initial worry was that Fallout 4 ran terribly. The game is definitely poorly optimized, and while my laptop isn't really a modern machine anymore, it can run Doom 2016 at Ultra on 4K at 60 FPS. Most games I can run at high 1080p, no sweat. Maybe medium high if the going gets rough. I never usually have to drop a game below medium. Fallout 4 ran at sub 30 FPS on medium at 720p. And Fallout 76 contains a map that's 4 times bigger with 4 times the assets per sector. So I'm expecting this to be a miserable... It's not bad. This footage does it no justice, but at medium-ish settings, 900p, it runs pretty much at 60 FPS the entire time. There are some snags and some rough patches. Any densely forested area or places like Charleston run a little poorly, even when I'm not recording. But at its worst, it still runs better than Fallout 4 does at its best. I have no idea how they accomplished this, unless they just never optimized the creation engine. And I sure hope that's not the case. I don't want to assume that that's the case, that they never optimize anything. But if all their games ran at least this good, a healthy chunk of my issues with their games would be resolved. If Fallout 4 got some of these quality of life or optimization patches, it'd be great. If Skyrim got them, it'd be great too. I will not be talking this game's story in this review. We'll save that for October. But I will say that it pretty much only exists so you can fight dragons and launch nukes. I'm not joking. There are dragons in this game. They're big mutant bats, but they are practically dragons. They have a sonic weapon that's just like a big wall of sound, just like the dragon shouts. They fly the same way, they land the same way. Also, I will not be talking the Wastelanders content. All I know about it is there's NPCs. The NPCs have quests. You can team up with a faction, and eventually you get a bunch of gold. That's all I know. That one seems inoffensive, But what I can comment on is this game's multiplayer. This game's borderline non-existent multiplayer. It is multiplayer. It is a live service title after all, and we all know how I feel about those. The thing is, though, that pretty much every player I've come across has refused to acknowledge my existence. Not once have I heard a voice over a mic speak out to me, and the most acknowledgement another player has given me is a nod while I walked past. The equivalent of two Jeep Wrangler drivers passing each other on a 2-lane rural road and giving each other the wave. There's no real incentive to trade. There's so many hindrances when it comes to PvP on the overworld that it pretty much doesn't exist. And you can effectively ignore the multiplayer aspect of this game. Which gives us Fallout 4. This is just an always online, live service Fallout 4. I mean, I saw it coming, we all saw it coming. The game was produced quickly and is supposedly a vestigial remnant from a planned Fallout 4 co-op mode. But it is absolutely painted all over this game, and it can't escape that. It plays the same, most of the assets are the same, everything from how power armor works to the location of the bolt on the hunting rifle, why is it a lefty, are all the same. With one exception, on the radio, the Inkspot song maybe plays slightly slower. It's been in so many other games. It was in Fallout 1, it's in Fallout 3 and 4. For some reason in 76, it just runs slightly slower. Why? No idea. I asked on the forums, nobody gave me an answer, so that's fun. But as a result, there's only a couple major changes. Item conditions are back, weapons degrade with use, armor takes a beating and needs to be repaired, and even your food and drink items can spoil, which means you have to be careful with your stock and keep backup weapons ready. As someone with a combined 200 hours and 3 in New Vegas, I'm used to weapon condition being a thing, so it doesn't bother me. It degrades a little quickly for my liking, but there are weapon mods you can equip to lengthen how long a weapon can last, and there's of course perks that prevent weapons from breaking as quickly. And it's also kind of frustrating that a majority of the food I keep on hand ends up going bad, as I'm often not really paying attention. I kind of just grab everything, I guess. But I might, say, make a bunch of blackberry juice, and when I go to find it in my inventory, it's gone because it's spoiled, and it never warned me that it was about to spoil. Also on the menus, we can check out... Jesus, I'm getting attacked! Yeah, this game is online, I get it, so it won't pause, but the menus are cumbersome in real time, which makes things significantly more difficult. While I'm aware that god-awful menus and submenus are a staple of games as a disservice, it's especially frustrating as the Pip-Boy is a cumbersome piece of UI that would be much better if it was just Skyrim's UI, which as we all know is the worst of all possible Skyrim UIs. It's frustrating is what it is. It's a darn shame because I like the Pip-Boy conceptually, and I really like that this one is greatly inspired by the HUD from Fallouts 1 and 2. Even if it, just looks like the Fallout 4 iteration when you're looking at the screen. Also, your map is in full color, but it's only accessible by pressing escape. So you can't just click from one tab to another, you have to press the escape key, wait for it to load, and then drag around this gigantic map you really can't zoom out on. So that's a bit of a bother. While you're here, you might like to know that fast travel costs caps. Not a lot of caps. Maybe 20 to 30 to cross a very large chunk of the map, 50 probably to cross the entire map, and maybe just 1 to 5 caps across smaller patches of land. But it still costs caps. That is, unless you fast travel to your camp or Vault 76, or faction-specific areas like Flatwoods for the Responders, or Whitetail Bunker for that one faction that should definitely be at their oil rig right now. What are they doing in West Virginia? We'll never know. That's always free. And of course things that are super close by. Dirt cheap. Ditto dying and respawning, which is a pain, because you drop your junk items when you die. And if you're nowhere near a landmark, that often means you can lose a lot of rare stuff like nuclear material, aluminum, screws, or whatever if you can't get back there easily. What also doesn't help is that outside of the starting areas, enemy levels can be all over the place. You could be minding your business, casually mopping up level 10 to 20 ghouls, doing a quest at level 15, just being yourself, you're not hurting anyone other than those ghouls, and then you get suddenly curb stomped by a level 60 ghoul that came out of nowhere and relocated your dweller's brains into their pelvis through their torso with an overhand strike. You can call for help if there's nearby players, but with a map this massive and with not terribly many players on a map at any time, they're often spread out super thin, so you really don't get much help there. Well, you could just have a friend help you out. Yeah, you could. But my Steam friends list is 13 wide, and all of them are smarter than me in that they don't own Fallout 76. And I'm not going to recommend they buy Fallout 76 because this game is $40. And as we're about to find out, everything it does well as a Fallout game, Fallout 3, 4, or New Vegas does better, and everything it does good as a games as a service title, any other games as a service title can do better. And cheaper. So you finally get your junk to a crafting station, you break it down, you get repairing, but then two things get in your way. You either need more junk to keep going, or you need a perk to make the upgrade you want to make. That is, if you even get the upgrade you want. You have to scrap weapons to unlock new mods at random, so you end up collecting a ton of stuff that you have to bring to a crafting table to scrap to unlock mods or just clean up clutter, and there's no guarantee that you'll get the mod you want or even the mod that's on the weapon. You find a rifle with a really cool scope, you break it down, and you get a receiver. Yippee! You can buy weapon mods and also the plans to build weapon mods, but vendors often don't have many good weapon mods, but they have a lot of schematics for other weapon mods. Those schematics are crazy expensive, and this economy is busted. My biggest gripes with this game are the ones that are really only there because it's a live service title. Enemy and loot levels are crazy. I've gotten heavy level 30 plus items from daily jobs completed halfway across the map by other players. Getting to both a stash crate and a workbench to use my crafting material is often a pain, especially if I'm nowhere near a railroad, as there's always a guaranteed stash box and one crafting table at every railroad stop. That's also true for Red Rocket gas stations, but those could be anywhere, and I've only come across like 2, whereas I can always follow railroad tracks to find a train station. The quests are okay, but the travel time is a hassle unless I'm willing to shell out for it. And if I do make it to my quest marker, there's a chance the enemy waiting for me will be 30 levels above me, so I end up dying and my respawn points are a 15-minute walk from where I died, or right on top of where I died, right next to the enemy that killed me, so I die again. And when I do complete the quest, what do I get? More junk I need to scrap because it takes up too much room in my inventory and I'm not going to use it, and caps I can't really use to buy anything as item sell prices are a joke. Item buy prices are a nightmare, and the Hub Trading Company in California only started using bottle caps like 10 years prior to the Wastelanders update, so why are there this many people stashing caps away in safes and cabinets in the 2070s? And also, how fast did the currency of the bottle cap travel from the West Coast to the East Coast in just 10 years? How long did it take Harold to travel from the West Coast to the East Coast? Like 30 years? It took Harold 30 years to travel from California to DC. And I guess bottle caps just traveled that much faster. There were bottle caps before the Wastelanders update, which implies that people, like 2090 something, 2080 something, were already collecting them and using them as currency, which is insane. Also, they could just still be using dollars. I don't see why they have to switch to bottle caps this quickly. Most of the people out in the wasteland remember life before the war. The pre-war money could be the currency. We could just be using dollars. It's not like this is 210 years after the Great War and we don't know what these things are anymore. All of these people, unless they're younger than like 25, 30, know what a dollar is. So I should be able to use the money I've been picking up in the game as my currency. And that's that on that. I don't hate Fallout 76 all that much. I hate it slightly less than I hate Fallout 4. Fallout 4 runs terribly. Its Radiant quests are a pain. Its map isn't interesting in the slightest. I don't like its characters. Its factions are gross. It's pretty much just Skyrim with guns. And its plot is so convoluted, I don't even think Bethesda knows what's going on. Fallout 76's plot is pretty much non-existent and only exists to capitalize on the spectacle Skyrim sold itself on to 20 plus million people. Fight a dragon. Watch a thing blow up. Yippee. Its weapon systems are a little more interesting, but way more frustrating to use. That's also worth mentioning. Weapons can also just be whatever level they want too. You'll find a ton of miniguns in this game, but they're all level 35 or 50. I'm level 23 at the time of recording this, and I found like 5. And I can't use them because they're too high level. The skill point system means I do actually have the proper trappings of a skill set, but it also makes special not really a role-playing atlas that dictates what my character is, but it's a set of skill points I can allocate that dictates what they can be. I don't even really use the camp because relocating it is a hassle, and the only real advantage it gives me is I can keep some of the caps people trade me for with the junk I load into the vending machines, but I need the junk to upgrade my weapons. It's a free fast travel point, and it has crafting stations. But if I've already planted my camp somewhere, it's not leaving unless I spend, or through some miracle, some player already has their camp in that spot when I log in and I need to move it. So it kind of just stays where it is, right near the starting area, because one of your quests is to drop it down. So I dropped it down, and there it stays forever. But what I do hate are all the live service elements stapled to the game. No pausing makes the Pip-Boy a nightmare to navigate quickly. Other player encounters are superfluous at best and entirely ignorable at worst. Items can be way past my current level, ensuring I can't use them. My inventory can be filled with junk from a daily quest way across the map being resolved with a nuke. And that leaves me over-encumbered until I get to a workbench or a stash box, which might be almost a quarter-mile away or more. So I have to walk over-encumbered with my AP draining to that box or that crafting table. And I better hope I don't run into a Wendigo, a Deathclaw, anything that moves fast in this game. Sloths move fast in this game. And if it is moving fast, I'm fucked. Oh, and the microtransactions and the paid subscriptions in a $40 game, straight up highway robbery from a company who made a killing on a pay-once single-player RPG not even a decade ago. Fallout First in the Atom Shop exists specifically because ZeniMax wanted a game that monetizes like Elder Scrolls Online. Fallout 4 and Skyrim players don't really purchase Creation Club content, but ESO has a ton of whales who are willing to spend to get all of the cosmetics or expansions. Fallout 76's Atom Shop contains mostly cosmetic items, but there are actual game changers like repair kits and scrap kits in there. Scrap kits turn all your junk items into their components and send it straight to your stash box instantly. You get 3 repair kits to repair your weapons outside of a workbench when you start the game, but you don't get scrap kits. You have to buy those. You do get a couple atoms here and there for challenges, but not really enough to make it worth it. And Fallout First players get so much more space to store junk. They get riot armor for free, they get access to private friends-only maps to prevent griefing, they get a free fast travel point they can place and pick up whenever they want and place anywhere, and they get free items monthly. Simply paying about every 3 months what this game costs now gives you a head start and makes things way easier. They also mention that they'll eventually let you play the game completely solo. You have to have a Fallout First subscription to play the game solo. Fallout is an anti-capitalist, anti-consumerist series, and it having such an overpriced subscription is a joke. It's also an anti-war series, and the fact that its main campaign ends with you launching a nuke to save people is insane. They did this just so you can launch a nuke. In the trailer, they're all looking at the nuke like, wow, look at it. It's a spectacle. The nukes are a spectacle. And they shouldn't be. This is Fallout. These people all know a time when the nukes destroyed the Earth. This should be horrifying, and it's not. It's not played for horror. It's played as a spectacle. But the thing I hate most about this being live is that so much of this video will just burn up one day. There will come a time when my concerns over enemy levels are no more. That's coming apparently this fall or this winter. There will be content I show here that will vanish from the game down the road. I bought this game to chronicle a specific vault, because what it does to the Fallout lore is so stupid that I need to talk about it in the video I'm making for October. But they removed that vault in the Wastelanders expansion. You can't go in anymore. And that should be fine, right? If content is bad or broken, it should be patched. It should be fixed, replaced, whatever. But at the same time, it makes reviewing a live service game next to impossible. So many reviews in 2018 lamented that the stash box has pathetic storage space, and it runs terribly. This game ran worse than Fallout 4. But now this is probably the best running game in Bethesda's entire library. Fallout 4 still runs like garbage. It didn't get any of the quality of life improvements that the Creation Engine got for 76. That's a steadfast, solid thing now. And while much of the content I hate in this game, I hate with good reason, other players might like it. Or maybe things that frustrate me entice other players. Maybe fighting over-leveled enemies so you can revel in a boss-like encounter, and having to use VATS like a quick-draw system rather than turn-based combat appeals to you. Maybe, where many players thought Vault 94's raid mission was the worst one in the game, you thoroughly enjoyed its atmosphere. Maybe Nuclear Winter is made more fun through the clunky combat mechanics, as it reduces how effective raw skill can really be. Maybe the audio log only quests were really interesting to you because it gives the game a much different atmosphere and tone versus the rest of Bethesda era Fallout. All of that can just change or disappear at a moment's notice. A game in perpetual early access. A game in a constant state of flux until it all gets taken offline one day. We will forget all about it. The series' history will go 1, 2, Tactics 3, New Vegas 4, Shelter, Shelter Online, whatever comes next for the series. This will be a footnote. This will be forgotten one day. We might gather around and go, remember that weird online-only Fallout? But that's it. Bethesda wanted their own Rust, their own Ark Survival Evolved, their own DayZ. But if anything, they got their own Darkspore. We will one day live in a world where Fallout 76 feels like a bad dream. It'll be abandonware. Everybody will have all these assets and all this information, but they won't be able to play the game because the servers are down. There is no offline mode. When you lose your connection, your controls freeze. This game is so married to its online-only status. But there's nothing really spectacular about the game anymore now that the allure of teaming up to fight in raids and events has ended. Now that people don't really take the time to build big camps for their friends and crew. Now that the mics are quiet and dwellers pass each other like ships in the night. Don't buy Fallout 76. Fallout 4 contains almost all the same content, and while it doesn't run nearly as well, it's a solid, rigid thing now. Mods are becoming more and more robust the longer it goes without official patches. New environments and items are being added for free all the time by fans. New patches. There's an entire section of the mod menu for patches. Not official patches, mind you. Bethesda won't do those, I guess. But tons of unofficial patches that solve issues with the game. This goes doubly so for even older titles like New Vegas, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary this October. If you really like live service titles, there's so many free-to-start ones that offer just as much content as 76 out there. While playing this game, I kept thinking about how much I'd rather play Destiny. I don't even like Destiny! Fallout 76 is available for $40 USD, or your regional equivalent, on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC through either the Bethesda launcher or Steam.